estimation. We found that right over here. Yeah, I think she found it. It's a money thing. Kept money in it, I guess.
Yeah, and I haven't been able to. I haven't been able to trace that to.
It belonged to my dad.
Oh,
okay.
You want that? That's a memento of your dad. You can have it. You know, I think that's really neat.
No, I think you.
Are you sure?
I think you.
That's your dad's.
What would happen is, because we dealt on a cash basis, so every week we would take this and we would put so much cash in it and then run around Crawfordsville and pay the bills, the light bill, the gas bill, the water bill.
Okay.
Because, you know, we weren't any checking accounts, so.
Yeah, they didn't have credit cards back then.
No, they didn't.
And
No.
wire money and all that stuff. Or whatever what they call them, Venmo and paying online bill.
Yeah.
Paying online. But these, I found these drawings yesterday when I was going through stuff in here.
My gosh, I haven't been here for
Yeah. Did you draw? Were you the one that drew these? Look, it has dimensions.
No, John Van Matry.
Okay.
Drew those.
Okay.
Hey, how are you, Mary?
Hey, Mary.
Welcome.
Good.
And I think so. He probably drew that too, didn't he? I found that over there too.
Yeah, because of course that's the original Steck's building.
107, right?
Right, and that was the original building.
Okay.
And then we bought the Weather Vane building, which was a
Is that the Basil's meat?
it was Basil's meat.
Basil's meat, that's what I thought.
Right. And then I mean we could go on forever. We really, really could go on forever. But there are so many nooks and crannies. Did anybody know Stu Rosher?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
young or old Stu Rosher?
Well, Stu called Dad the mole of downtown Crawfordsville.
Oh.
Because, you know, we were up and over and around here.
So this is all children's clothing store here, wasn't it?
Yes.
Did it go all the way to the back alley? I mean, did you guys use all this space, office space,
Yes.
for the children's clothing?
I don't remember the children's clothing store.
You don't remember the Painted Pony?
Yeah.
It was only
I
open.
remember Painted Pony, but I don't
When did it
remember
open?
coming in here.
86, 84, 86? It wasn't open very long before you guys closed down. I do
Well,
believe.
Van Matry's owned it.
Yeah. Yes.
And they lived
Yes.
over. Oh, the children's, the Painted Pony, they own this?
Maybe Austin
They
Angel.
owned the one over on
Angel.
I saw
Green
that.
Street.
Okay.
And then we bought it and moved it over here.
I did not know that. I thought you guys started it. Okay, from scratch.
Every time I see these steps, I think of right after we'd opened the deli, a guy missed these steps and ended up face down on the bricks, and his face was bleeding. And
It's a pretty big building.
That's Ward's. I'm pretty sure. I got to figure out though. I think where it says I think that's where the drugstore was. Her driver's drugstore.
yeah,
When they went down here.
yes.
I don't know what's there now. Is that in there?
That makes sense.
Do you guys still smell that rotten meat from the basins? Still smell it? Has still a little bit of
Oh,
stuff.
it was terrible.
It's like right here.
It was terrible.
Well, you guys, let's go up front here. Hey, wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, this is that lawyer sign that we found. Joe Snowski found these on the steps coming up these
Yes.
steps. So this is probably that Justin Maloney you're telling about.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what's interesting,
Yeah, that's the original sign.
look at the back. I never noticed that. EAL Estate. See that? EAL Estate.
And Gertrude's.
And then this has the law office. This is stepson, Bradford. He wrote this when he was little. My dad has a big motorcycle. I want one for me for Christmas, so me and my dad can ride together. I also want all the riding gear. Brad, isn't that funny? This is where they came up. They came to this door kind of over here, came up here, ordered, and then you guys would pass out to the server. So did you have waiters and waitresses for people that? Pick it up and they sit down and eat. The gym waiters take it. They just order up here though, wouldn't they? It was a deli. Like they didn't have waiters waitresses bringing food to the tables. It was actually people would come up and order and then you would give them their food and they would sit down. So this has all the extensions.
Right.
See that?
And I still got those.
Oh, do you?
Sausage and
See that? So this is those tubes. Those tubes going up into the third floor. They're up in the third floor. If you want to go up there. Those were those pop canisters, the soda pop that came down.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to have a lot of space for them down here. That makes sense.
We had to put the it would actually turn the soda water into
Coca-Cola. Okay, you guys served Coke products back then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted Pepsi. There was a jerk who was selling Pepsi at the time. And I said, I'd like to have Pepsi because that's my favorite. And he said, well, you're not going to do enough business up here to afford putting Pepsi in. And I said, how do you know that?
Right, how would he know that?
And he said, well, I just look around.
food plants just out there.
He said, you're not going to do any business. And I said, well, what if we would? And he said, just go to the grocery store and buy stuff.
Yes.
That's not very good business on his part.
No, but he was a jerk.
Yeah. The Coca-Cola guy was pretty nice. The Coca-Cola rep.
He was terrific.
Yeah.
They provided everything.
This is like an old timer. This is some display lights or something. It's a timer.
I don't know what that was for, Mike.
Yeah, it's a timer. I was just wondering. And then this is volume. So this is probably the speaker system, I'm guessing.
Now, the original, one of the interesting things about this kitchen is that when we were going to put the deli in, and Gary Crawfordsville and myself, the electrician, and I started adding up, and between stoves and dishwashers and so on and so on, we didn't have enough electricity.
Oh yeah, that would take a while.
And so Gary said, what are we going to do? And I said, we're going to rewire the place.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So the vents, because obviously you had ovens. Was that vent? That was a vent where the ovens over here. That was a vent that went up.
The ovens were up
to get
there.
the fumes out of here.
I don't know what those were for.
Okay. Because it looks like you had dishwashers.
We did. Dishwasher was here.
Dishwasher was right here.
And this, correct. This was the dishwashing area. And the stoves were here where the chocolate chip cookies were made.
The people came through there to order at that window, and this was all kitchen.
Yes.
So they walked through the kitchen to get in there to go eat.
No.
They came through that other door and ordered. He ordered through this window.
So they didn't have waiters and waitresses going out to the table.
How did you get around here to go through the eat?
Well, the customers weren't back in here. They would
Come in the other door.
It looked like they would come to the next time. I think the customers would come in here. There's a doorway right here.
No, the guy that worked here.
They would come up and order here.
But what we made the arrangement for, because the tables and stuff that were here, you've been a good employee all these years.
Yeah,
I'll make you a deal on all the
They cleaned this up a lot since we were
Yeah.
here. Couple weeks ago.
Did you add these skylights when you built this? He built.
They're actually on the roof.
Right here.
Yeah. But the one in there, we added on.
See, I thought these were fake skylights because the real skylights next door. You're right. And where the attic was. There's actually a little shop. When I look out the third floor of the right above here, On the roof, there's like three reels. They're real. These I think are fake. I don't think these go up. These don't go up to the roof. On the third floor, they don't let natural sunlight. These are just light. I think they're light bulbs in there. Yeah, I think they're fake. I think we just made, but they look real. They look.
One of good drawings. Who drew those?
John Van Maitre. 1 year for Father's Day, we had men's gift wrapping paper, and those two were featured in the gift wrapping paper, and so Van just drew them. And
so wait, is this from your store right here? It's a deal? Is that what's familiar?
yeah,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
yeah, it
I
was.
remember.
And then what about these? One of these we found on the third floor. I think my understanding is right above here on the third floor. We can go up there, but that was John Van Maitre's workshop, I think.
That was painted
No.
pony. Wasn't that a painted pony?
Because I thought John Van Maitre, when I showed him these buildings before I bought them, he did kind of inspected them. He said that he and his friend Dave would carry stuff up to their dad on the third floor. That's the workshop up there. And you could still see a lot of stuff up there, a lot of displays. Like
They were in the
these
painted
angels
pony. I think they were in the painted pony.
Oh, these were?
I remember that.
Oh, okay.
They were, but Dad had a thing about the word sale, so he didn't want to put stuff on sale.
Okay.
He wanted it to be, it's a deal. So
Gotcha.
rather than have sale merchandise,
It's a deal.
it's a deal.
Collaborative.
So basically, the price as is a deal in itself. They didn't have to barter with them like the old.
So, or they are telling you it's a deal.
Yeah. Oh, you're getting a good deal with the price that you have already. You don't have to try to talk about it. So wait, where did you have the seating? Okay, so people pick up their food. Where was the seating? Like, did you have seating along the walls? And I noticed there's an elevated platform up there in the back.
There was seating every place.
So everywhere in here you saw seats up there on the upper deck, upper level there. Yeah, seats. Okay.
Was there benches or just tables?
Both.
Okay. Makes sense.
Did any of these tables look familiar? These are probably from Candace Pony. These are displays. I don't know.
Yeah.
Those,
They may have been from Edie Gross's
what
soap business.
happened was when we closed the business, because Sandy always wanted to be a restaurateur.
Okay.
So
C.D. Harple.
yeah. So I made him a deal. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll sell you all of the furniture cost.
Oh. Okay.
So
I thought it was interesting how he made each little section like he had one table that looked like a bed, and then it had different wallpaper, and then another section.
Right.
There's a wall that came out, and then he had another section that was a different wallpaper. It was like different rooms within the restaurant. Remember that?
Yep. My grandson used to love to go there.
Yeah. We had our wedding rehearsal dinner the night of the blizzard. I think it was the second worst blizzard in Indiana. I guess after blizzard 76. It was the night before my wife got married. January 2nd, 1999. My wife Mary and I got married. We had a rehearsal dinner. We had the rehearsal at St. Bernard's, and then came over here to Arthur's Cafe, and Sandy made meals for it. I think we had lasagna and salad. But we had a rehearsal there, and we could see from outside. The snow was coming down. It was getting windy. We're like, it's going to hit, and it hit about like 8:30 at night.
right.
And it was bad all night. And we basically the Holiday Inn was where we were going to have the reception, and it was booked out for a year. And it was the only place we had 350 people invited. It's like the only place you can have that many people. And so they called us like it's 5:36 in the morning. They say, look, you can still have it here. You know, we have the food here, but we can't get new employees to come here. People have been working. You know, some of the employees have been here like all day and all night. They're tired. If you cancel, we'll give you all your money back. We'll refund all the money for the food and everything that you bought. And so we decided to cancel because we knew I think we only had 110 actually could make it to our wedding.
Right.
At 350. We knew a lot of people wouldn't be able to make it, so we canceled it, and we still got could go to church and get married, and then we had our reception in March.
Right.
I feel like I couldn't make it, but we were one of the 4 couples in
Was
the
that the
everything.
blizzard of 78?
No, this was 1999. This was a really bad blizzard. The 78 was worse,
Right.
Yeah.
but I think it was like one of the second worst blizzard after the blizzard of 78.
What was it?
January 2nd, January 1st and 2nd of 1999.
That's Friday, Saturday, probably.
It was Friday night and Saturday, I believe. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it was bad. But fortunately, we had our wedding reception, our honeymoon planned to leave on Wednesday to fly out to Hawaii. So they had time to clear out the.
Right, that's
Yeah.
good.
We got really lucky that we didn't
Right, have
do
to
it
leave
that
that
night.
night.
That's there.
So what year did Arthur's close? I remember.
When did Arthur's close? Probably
That's what I was trying to think.
6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
Well, he opened when we closed, and we closed in
89.
91.
91, okay.
Yes, I'm just looking on 111,
Yeah,
but I haven't done that one yet.
that's where they got the It's a Deal. See that?
Okay,
That
yeah.
was a
Yeah,
slogan.
I got a couple of those in my bag.
And he went to what, just 2 years ago?
Probably.
I can't answer that. I don't know.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
I found that too.
There was an article in the paper about it. It's 2000 something, but I don't remember what year. 2016?
I thought this was curious because
No.
That'd be 7 years
Oh.
ago.
Well, that'd be about right then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We found this yesterday.
And then Joshua Cup moved in right after that, right?
Yeah, Joshua Cup used to be the green
Yes.
over here.
Right.
Yeah.
Not accurate at all.
You don't think so?
Okay, again, point me to tell story. This goes, all of these stairways became either
Oh my gosh.
stock rooms or eventually ways to get around.
Okay.
This goes to the outside of the building.
Well, now it's furnace. It does look like it. It almost looks like there's just an elevator in here.
No, there wasn't an elevator, but this went directly outside.
Okay. Wow, that's a big brick area all the way up. So there used to be a door here. Okay.
Yeah, that goes outside.
Okay. Well, it makes sense. It makes sense because there's a lot of brick, and then there's like just concrete blocks. Yeah.
See those having the header going outside.
Okay. So when you guys look in here, there used to be a door. You can see the headway of the door frame where it used to go outside.
And this went outside
To
here.
the left,
To the
yeah.
left.
Yep, that went right outside. I think it'd be interesting. You were telling me this is interesting. I think it'd be interesting for them to hear what you told me about. You guys were running out of room. This was just one level, right? And you're running out of space. You're kind of
Yeah.
So then you talked to an architect in Muncie. He came up here and just tell him what you told me about what he recommended you do.
Okay. This was the original men's store.
Stecks.
This was the original Stecks. And it was all on that level.
Okay. That was all one level.
And because we were out of room, or we were running out of room, then Dad and her Steck hired from Muncie an architect, and that's when we leveled this into 3 levels so that we had the main floor, we had the downstairs, and we had this. This was the men's clothing floor.
Right here.
This whole area.
Okay.
And Dad was not a believer in the brick and mortar business, but recognized the fact that by putting in more facilities, it gave us more room to sell clothing.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the original store, and the architect who came to Crawfordsville, and this became really the pattern for all of the stores, because the weather vane which was the building next door, used the same blueprints so that we could do exactly the same thing, because all of these had, as you could see, had very, very tall ceilings. So what we did was level this, brought it down so that it was at an 8-foot level. That was at a regular level. And then the downstairs became a part of the men's store also. These railings are the original railings, and they were made by hand.
Wow, beautiful.
And they were made in Muncie. And all the main floor had counters on both sides with a center aisle. And then we sold men's clothing out of both sides as well as up here. So basically what we did was triple the amount of space that we had by putting in the 3 levels. And that became really the architect for everything, because next door, the men's store started in 1936. Steck's did. And Dad came to Crawfordsville after getting, he did his undergraduate work at that time. It was all undergraduate work, or it was graduate work. He lived in Muncie, and he worked for Herschel Steck. And Herschel Steck made an agreement with Dad that if he would come to Crawfordsville, that being Dad, would come to Crawfordsville and start the men's store, that Hirsch would foot half the bill, and then Dad would pay him over the years to do all of this. When the store finally got paid for, that being the men's store, then we bought the building next door, which was the ladies', it became the ladies' store, but it used the same exact blueprints because we recognized that we could gain 3 times the amount of space by putting all of the areas. So the next door, the meat market was based 100% on the same floor plan that was. Now, if anybody has any questions, I will be happy to answer them. All I can think of is Dick Ristine, because Dick said that he got to the point that he was the only one that really recognized the stories. So I really am the only one that knows all of the stories, and where all of the skeletons are buried. Because I grew up in the store. I grew up as a men's store, and we had 3 Wabash guys working in the store at that particular point in time. So while this was being remodeled, the 3 Wabash guys wore old clothes and came to work in old clothes, and they did a lot of the grunt kinds of things while this was being remodeled. Again, and you have to kind of understand that main floor, we basically brought it up so that we would gain another level of flooring at this particular point, because all of that was on the same floor and it went all the way across, because the downstairs was a, quote, basement. All of the buildings downtown had basements, or they arranged businesses. Now, because of the way the downtown was set up, the men's John was up in front, and you had to climb up to get to the street level to be able to use the men's John. Because those, at that point, it was above the street level. So in order for the sewage to drain, it had to be up higher.
So Wade, you had said that so basically these ceilings were 16, there were some areas where there were 16 feet ceilings, right? The floor to the ceiling was 16 feet, right? And then you guys, that's when you decided to do the tri-level.
That floor was the original floor.
Okay, that level. Okay.
That's where the architect came up with the idea. He said, if we just would level it and bring this up and bring that down, then we would gain the 3 levels. So for no more rent, because this building was owned by a company in New York, as all of the buildings at that point downtown were owned mostly out of town and in New York.
I didn't know that.
For example, the meat market we bought, and that's when we opened the ladies' business. So that was the first time that we actually owned a building, because we did not own this, we rented it.
Okay.
So the Weathervane building, which became the Grand, can we get in there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, keep.
All right.
What year was the Weathervane open?
The Weathervane was opened in 1965. And a very funny story goes with that. My mother, my sister, went to New York with Dad, and again, look around, because the Weathervane building was 100% women's clothing. And they were all excited because they were putting in, at that point, very traditional lines of ladies' clothing, villager and things that a lot of you young women grew up with, and it became very successful. The Weathervane did. As a matter of fact, the majority of people thought that the Weathervane was the original building, and that the men's store really was an afterthought. And it's just the opposite, because the men's store really fed everything else.
Now, you mentioned that was the first building you owned.
That was the first building that we owned, yes.
Are you saying that Steck owned, or that you in coordination with?
That we, that being the Nixon family,
Okay, Nixon then, yes.
owned the meat market and used the same blueprints that we did over here.
Right.
Because this was owned by the Diana Shop, because Diana Shop, which is where you are,
Sure, if you got here.
was actually owned by a company in New York
Again. Okay.
called the Diana Shop, and they were a chain. Now, if I don't get ahead of myself, which I will have a bad habit of doing, because we basically had 4 buildings. The first one we owned was the Weathervane. Then we bought this one because the Weathervane was successful. And Dad and Hirsch had the agreement that when Dad bought Hirsch out, then we put the ladies' store in, and that was the first ladies. That was the first. That was the one that was owned by, again, the Nixon family. Then, because we had all of these old buildings, and with nothing, with something to do. Upstairs, for example, and that's why you'll see the shirts, because the upstairs was the attic. And so I refinished that whole floor upstairs because they were hardwood floors, the original hardwood floors, and I sanded those, and that became the attic. Then I've got to put this right as far as timing is concerned. The gift shop became successful, and we had the opportunity to buy the movie theater, because there was a movie theater where.
Where was the movie theater?
The movie theater was where Arthur's.
Yeah.
Joshua Cup now.
Yeah.
Joshua Cup. That was a movie theater.
And that was, I think there were three movie theaters downtown.
Correct.
And all of the buildings downtown were heated from the Enterprise building. They ran all of the pipes to heat the buildings. So when we actually bought the movie theater, and we took the flooring off because, again, we were going to gain 3 times the amount of space. It was just, as far as you could see, it was solid pipe.
Wow.
It was just pipe after pipe after pipe after
steam,
pipe.
right? Steam heat. Steam. They produce steam, right? You're talking about steam.
They provided the steam.
Steam.
For downtown, for all of downtown. The plumber who decided that he was going to cut all of those pipes off got a sawzall, and as luck would have it, he was out of fuel, and right in the middle of the movie theater was a 150 or 200 gallons of oil that, had they not been out of gas to cut all those pipes off, would have blown up most of downtown.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And what year would that have been?
That was in the 80s.
Oh.
Okay.
Because the movie theater had a sloped floor, as all theaters did. And so we took up all the flooring and cut off all of the pipes eventually. And that's why the downtown did not blow up, because the oil was buried in the middle of that dirt. Now, most of the labor was done by hand. For example, this building, let's see, where am I? Okay, this building, come on, let's go downstairs.
And that was called the Joy Theater, right?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
I don't remember ever going to
There's a picture. I'll show you a picture of the Joy Theater.
When did the Joy Theater go out? Because as a kid, I only just went to the Strand.
There was the Joy, the Strand, and then over on
Okay.
Now, Because we needed more space, let's go down here.
I have to look that up.
Well, that's because he lived in Muncie and he knew how to get the right person.
That's right. Store stuff. This is their break room now.
Okay, you can see. You can see the I-beam, the steel I-beam, because Dad and Van came down here, and again, we were out of space. So they kind of looked in there and saw that there was basement. There was a full basement. Except there really wasn't. It just looked like it. So what happened was, when we got down to, what's on the other side of this, Michael?
This is Sugar Creek Hiker. My basement on the other side of here. The basement off Sugar Creek Hiker.
Okay, that's the one. That's the one we literally dug out, because when we looked behind the I-beam, there was this much space. So we thought it was full basement, and it wasn't full basement at all. It only went down about this far.
Like a crawl space
Like a
or
crawl
something.
space,
It was a crawl space.
Yeah, crawl space. Yeah.
And because we needed the room, bucketful at a time, we took the dirt up these steps and out the front door, and the contractor would then dump it into his truck during the day, and then we would clean the store up so that we could
Do business.
we could do business the next day.
Oh, wow.
Let's go.
And we could go to the basement through we'll have to go through my office, but we could go down later. I can take you down my basement. It's pretty easy to get down there.
Did you get through right here, he's saying?
It's not easy. It's not easy at all. There's a lot of stuff there. There's a little tiny doorway that goes down there, but it's pretty tough to get back. There's a lot of nooks and crannies, a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to be having to get.
What's behind this door?
That was just like almost like a lot of wires and like a big closet, like a nasty closet. Basically, you want to close it up.
It's still here.
Okay, you guys want to come in?
Yeah, okay.
So that's why they want the carvers want me to put this door in, so I can't get it. Okay.
Okay, all of this wiring, again, let me explain this to you. Because when we got down so far, turns out that the bricks from downtown were sitting on just soil. There were no footings. So the bricks, when we got down so far, didn't have a foundation. So what we did was dig out. We did a thing called underpinning, and we dug out 3 feet by 3 feet. Went back, poured concrete in there. Let that set up. Dug out another 3 feet, so that we basically put a perimeter in the entire room down there.
Yeah, we'll go in there when we go to my office. There's stairs.
More or less made footers.
Yeah.
4 footers is fine.
Oh, we put a foundation in. Yeah, you're 100% right. That's exactly.
So when you were talking about the wires in here, what were you were getting ready to talk about these wires? What are these for? I mean, or they've added later maybe these wires in here?
Well,
and this yellow pipe thing, I don't know. Maybe it's
again what you've got.
Could be gas lines.
What you fully have to appreciate is the fact that the wiring in these old buildings was in really, really bad shape. So when we got a hold of the buildings, we had to run wires wherever we could, because it was all coming from the back of the building. And CEL&P, Crawfordsville Electric Light and Power, had not revamped the whole alley. So by the vanity, as well as Gary Coffinberry, who did all of our electrical work, and we were putting the deli in at that particular point. Called CEL&P and said, we're going to blow up again. We're going to blow up the downtown because the wiring is in such bad shape that it's going to arc and it's going to spark. And so they basically rewired the entire alley.
Wow.
To be able to
I'm just glad you guys didn't have to pay for it, right? Stacks didn't have to pay for that. Did the city pay for that?
No, we paid for
You
all
had to
of
pay
it.
for that,
I was
okay.
gonna say, I bet.
Well, you made sound it was outside the alley. I thought maybe the city had to take care of it.
No.
Okay, you guys.
We paid for everything.
Okay.
We paid for everything.
Well, you guys did a great job. They had done research that they thought this would be a good community to have, city to have a men's clothing store because of Wabash College, the professors and students, the
There were several men's.
So that was
as a matter of fact,
incentive for the move here, right?
The downtown was very, very strong.
Okay.
Incredibly strong.
Okay.
But there were certain practices. For example, in the men's business, the price that you saw was not the price that you got. So at the end of the day, if a customer would come in and he'd say, well, is that the price of the suit? And whoever happened to own that particular men's would say, no, whatever it's worth. When Dad came to Crawfordsville, he said that we're not going to do business that way. The price is what the price is.
You got to make a living.
Yeah,
profit,
exactly. And so there was a farmer who came in, and again, this is 1936 when Dad started the store. When he came to Crawfordsville in partnership with Herschel Steck, and I'll get back to your story in a minute. And the guy said, okay, well, I need a top coat, I need a suit, I need a new hat. And the guy said, I think the price was someplace around $500 for the whole kit and caboodle. And the guy said, so I'll just give you $450. And Dad said, no, that's not how we're going to do business.
No wheeling and dealing with your dad. He was a straight shooter.
Well, because he didn't have a choice. I mean,
right, yeah.
Because not only did Herschel Steck, he basically came up with $6,000 to start the store. And so many of the boxes were empty. They would have shirts, like on the main floor, because they didn't have the money to put in the inventory.
All the different sizes.
So what would happen, and again, it was a different time. Shirts would come normally in a box of 4, and because they didn't have 4 shirts in there, Dad would say to the guy, well, let us get some shirts for you. And so that's how they built the inventory up.
So if somebody came in and needed a certain size shirt, your dad looked in the box for that size. Oh, we don't have it. He'd tell the customer, "Hey, we'll order that in a few days," and then that person, that money that customer paid you buy more shirts in that size to fill up the inventory.
And that's how the inventory got built.
Okay, takes time.
Well, then I was told too that suits were not adjusted when they were hanging on a rack. They were hanging there, and you had somebody that would measure and would fix the
right.
cuffs.
And a lady whose name I will not give you, and I got into it because she said it's not fair because women's clothing we don't sell it for the same price. And I said, well, it's very obvious because in order to buy a men's suit, you have to have it altered. You have to put a length on it.
Yeah.
And with women's, because it was, it was already,
Him didn't know that.
it was in stock. So in order to buy a suit, it had to be altered. And she said, well, that's not fair. And I said, well, it is fair because in order to buy the suit, you had to alter it. And
yeah, that would be extra money that you had to pay somebody to alter it. So it should be a little.
Yeah. Now that was a dressing.
Is that a dressing room? Okay.
Well,
There's a little curtain on it, right?
yeah, because there was no facility on the main floor.
Yeah. Yeah, what's interesting, there's like a bunch of storage area up there.
Yeah, that's where we kept hats.
Yeah, up here, if you look up here.
This whole area was men's hats.
See, that's when we get light on here.
Yeah, because I don't have light on here, so it's some of my.
Way back, see how far back that goes? And they had like they probably had ladders. You see, there's like a ladder.
Oh, yeah, I see
They
it.
probably stored stuff on the top there. That was probably another place to store stuff.
Yeah,
Isn't that neat?
Yeah, that's neat.
Now this was the original entryway into the ladies' store, and so this was the first time
Into the weather vane?
into the weather vane.
Okay.
And the story that I was going to tell you, my dad and mother and my sister came back from New York.
Oh, after visiting the places in New York, getting ideas for clothing?
Well, because this was going to be the opening of the ladies' store. And back in that corner was the first rack of clothing. And Dad, my mother was so excited, and my sister was so excited. And they said, oh my gosh, Nick, what are we going to do? Nick being my father. What are we going to do? Because, we basically filled up this whole room. And he said, ladies, I hate to tell you this. You didn't touch this room as far as the amount of inventory that it would take.
Wow. Wait, did you guys have original brick walls like this?
No.
Or was that was done later? Okay.
No, but
I think Sadowski's.
Did that?
I think they did that when they bought these buildings, like 2010.
originally, there were certain levels of where buildings would line up.
Okay.
For example, this one was all on the same level as the men's store.
Okay.
So you could just walk right on through. But then when you went to the next one, which is yours, that was at a different level. So we had to build that one up to be able to get into it as far as.
So wait, were the basements all connected between the four buildings and the second floor? Every floor was connected to
Every
the other
floor
buildings?
and every.
Okay, I thought it was just the basements and the second floors.
And every basement and everything was connected in one form or another.
Okay. And what's interesting is if you go down here under the basement and you go to the very front here, in the basement, it looks like there's a big wood frame. It almost looks like it goes under the street. Like that was part of the steam. I bet that was where the steam. It was probably part of the underground tunnels of Crawfordsville. I think it.
Yeah, because all of downtown.
Yeah, but there's big rock slabs that fill it up. So it looks like somebody that bought the building decades ago wanted to block that. I don't know, rats and keep the rats out.
Yeah.
But they just blocked it in with big concrete stunt rocks, and so you can't get into it. But it'd be interesting to
Well, you can.
excavate that. Yeah.
But I mean, one thing I did learn as a kid, all you had to do was decide that you wanted to do something, and then you did it.
Mm-hmm.
Like taking a bucket full of dirt out of that
Yeah,
basement.
that'd be a lot of work.
And then the cost cost of that room got to be a lot more than we thought that it was going to be, because we had to take it out a bucketful at a time.
Yeah. It's got exposed brick down there too, I think, that you guys
Yes.
did. Yeah. We'll go down there. I think you guys had.
Wait, where did you cut through? We were talking about.
Was it up here?
Was it up here? that you-
Or which one?
From one of the stacks, we used to be able to cut through.
Was it up here?
Go to the
Well,
next door.
Or was it?
Was it this door? Okay, this door right here.
Yeah, and then it went through underneath
And
too.
then okay.
Yeah, and that went through back where we were when we were over on the other side.
Right. Yeah.
And then you could walk all the way, you could get from this building all the way to the movie theater
Yeah.
by going underground. And
Yeah.
it's hard to really kind of.
I know, I'm trying to remember it.
Well, you'll see when you go in my basement. Sure, you'll see where there's an opening that they bricked in with
That big brick.
concrete blocks, where there's an opening where you can go into the basement of 107.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see them, and the restaurant area where we were when we first started. You can see where there was a doorway going into
And then
Joshua
you
Cup's third floor.
Okay.
So you can see
And
where they
those
come.
are the ones that were at certain levels, because the downstairs on that side, for example, in other words, to get to the building that we dug out, we found out that if we ramped it, that it worked as far as footing was concerned.
Right.
And then added another stairway to it.
Yeah, we'll see that here in a little bit.
So how did you originally get to the top of the stairs? Was that the stairway we went up?
Oh, the delicatessen, the restaurant.
The
Yeah,
deli?
yeah, the deli. What's-
Okay,
The steps that we went up.
I think it's the
That's
steps
the
that you guys
steps we
came
went
up.
up?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
the up where we were originally,
Where we started?
right next door to that was the uptown sewing shop. And that had a skylight. And we put the skylight in, and then put the whole rest of the thing on one level to try and gain more business. The reason for the deli really was only one thing, and that was to bring people into the store.
Wow.
It really wasn't to serve any purpose other than to
Bring people in.
bring people in.
Interesting.
And it was so funny because when we got it ready to close these buildings, some kids from the courthouse wrote me a note and said, could you at least keep the deli open so that we have someplace to eat downtown?
You get those chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, I heard those are good. And the sandwiches.
Yeah, the chocolate chip cookies, and then we had the big chocolate chip cookies, and then somebody came up with the idea of putting ice cream in between them with another chocolate chip cookie.
Chipwich.
And they
That's
exactly.
where that's where Sandy Harple got the idea for the
And they,
Arthur's Cafe.
and of course they had no calories in them.
No, it was fat-free ice cream.
I was gonna say, we found that recipe up there in the.
Yeah, there's a recipe I found for those chocolate chip cookies. I'll show you.
And the funny part about the chocolate chip cookies is, we made them in the store. So
Smelled like that all the time.
at the beginning of the day, it was just awful because the chocolate chip cookies just filled up the entire building. And there were some high school kids who worked here who wanted to make the chocolate chip cookies.
You can see a skylight up there.
Yeah.
That's what he was talking about.
That was the attic, right?
Upstairs.
Yeah, this is where I had my clothes, my pants, my boots, my 86. I didn't have them right. So they ripped. I didn't have mother-in-law either.
Right.
And that's so I go through these two
So that's how you
ways.
got to the attic.
What's that?
The attic.
No, this is how you got to the sewing place.
That's
Right?
how you got
The sewing. Look in
Oh,
here.
sorry.
Remember you said there was a skylight?
Oh, yeah.
So I think this connects to
Oh,
the restaurant, the restaurant, the deli. See that?
Now,
After the skylight?
originally,
Oh, I got you.
There was a sewing place, and then after they left, there was a Beth. It's John Downey's sisters. They did a building appraisal. So they took over where the sewing place was.
and this was 111, which was actually over the gift shop here, and in order to
Oh, I was thinking something.
Yeah, this is where the gift shop, the attic moved to from upstairs, right? Above 107. Then it moved down here, I think, after you took over this building, right?
originally the attic was where the deli,
Okay, right above
Right.
the restaurant. Okay, gotcha.
but that was done. Those were done at two separate
Go this
times.
way, you
Yeah,
get to your bed.
you guys get right over there. Well, I'll move a little bit. Thank you. Okay. This is the old Joy Theater.
See, I was going to find out when that closed. When I was a kid,
There's a picture up there in the deli, I'll show you. It's a picture of the Joy Theater. Yeah.
Well,
You
I'll,
gave it to me.
I'll go through the directory and get all the listings for this building. I didn't for this
Are
building.
you sure it was called the Joy Theater?
Yeah.
She's got a picture of it.
Yeah, there's a picture upstairs that
Okay.
says
But,
Joy.
but it was, when I was a kid, I don't think it was this weird. We just went to the strand, the band wouldn't even know who it was.
But see, this is the floor
Okay,
that had the oil in the middle of it that was heated as far as downtown.
okay,
So
okay,
we had to
okay.
cut all the pipes off.
All right, okay.
That's scary. Man,
Yeah, because they really would have blown
If
up.
that would have sparked, the spark would have hit that oil.
You talked about how downtown was healthy. On Friday night, stores stayed open till 9.
Oh,
It was packed. Main Street was packed.
That's because everybody had their paycheck and they went to get groceries.
There you go,
And
yeah.
they sat in the car and visited with people as
Well,
they
they
were
had basketball games, football games at night, Friday nights, right? People would come here first, and then they
Yes.
have the game
Go to the
afterwards,
game
or they
afterwards.
come after the game. Maybe I don't know.
they kind of after the game. But the sewing shop did not have air conditioning.
Oh.
And it was incredibly hot up
I
there.
bet it was.
And finally, one day I went up to the ladies and I said, guys, what if we would put air conditioning in? And one of them said, oh, goody, goody, goody.
That's funny. So they worked for you. I mean, they were part of the sewing shop was owned by you, or was they
we owned
independent contractor?
we owned the building. They didn't actually work for us.
Okay.
They worked for
Oh,
themselves.
okay, I got you.
But we helped them out a
You gave them a
lot
lot of work
because the wiring was so bad
Yeah.
that we had to rewire the whole place
For their machines,
to, I'm sorry,
for their sewing machines.
just the second floor,
Oh.
the wiring was just so bad.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know the sewing place was up there when you guys were up. I thought that came later. Because there's ladies that sewed when I moved here in 1996. And I'd have them in my pants or fix holes in my pants, but they might have been the same ladies. I don't know. They were older ladies. 1996. They were the same ones that worked for you. Okay.
Same one.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
And I think Sandy Harple, who started Arthur's Cafe, he actually worked for you in selling men's clothes, right? Did he?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought that's what somebody told me. Then Becky Hurt worked in the attic, right? Becky Hurt, who later started the homestead and whatever.
And she worked in the attic.
The attic, this shop, okay.
But the that water right there.
Okay.
Before we put this sidewalk in, the city of Crawfordsville said, well, we're not gonna do that for you. We're not gonna put those water mains in. And we said, well, okay, but if we put it in, then you're gonna maintain it. And they said, no, we're not gonna do that. And I said, yes, you are, because, you know, we're paying for putting in the main water line.
Yeah.
And they said, well, that's your responsibility by owning these downtown buildings. And I said, okay, if that's what you're going to do. And wouldn't you know it, a week later it sprung a leak.
My wife. She's missing out on a great time.
Okay, so you want to go?
Yeah, let's get out of the cold here.
Well,
So okay, so he was saying first put up there. So should we go back to the restaurant? That was the attic, right, originally? Or should we? Or do you guys want to go to the basement of my office where Steck's kept?
Whatever you want to do.
Let's do the basement. Cause that was, this is where you dug out.
Except, Michael, I'm going to have to tell you something. We never refer to them as basements because they cost too much money to remodel.
Okay.
So we would call them the lower level.
Lower level.
The library still does that on some things.
Yeah, what was in here?
Okay, so we're gonna go down to the lower level.
This
was
the Diana shop originally.
Okay.
And then when we bought this building, because we'd already dug out the lower level.
Right.
That's the one I was talking about.
Right. Right.
Put the footings in and so on and so forth. And so we used it as a young men's shop.
Okay. Yeah.
Downstairs.
Right.
And you'll see that when we.
So that was the young men's shop downstairs.
That's correct.
Okay.
where we're headed.
And that was still part of Steck, so right?
It was all part of Steck.
All part of Steck. Okay. And then what? This was Diana shop. Then after you bought it, did it stay Diana shop for a while, or then did you?
Well, then it became Williams Jewelry Store.
Okay. Yes.
Because they were over on Green.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
And then they came over here,
Okay.
and because at that point we had started to buy, we'd started to buy buildings.
Okay.
I've got pictures of when it was Diane's shop and when it was Williams, and then they're back here on the walls. I'll show you later. And there's also an old picture, probably from the late 1800s, early 1900s, of these buildings downtown.
Okay.
It was the old downtown parade. They used to have the Marvin Bailey, Ringling Brothers parade.
Yeah, right. They did.
White horses and elephants.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a picture of that in the waiting room.
It does show the Joy Theater.
And there's another picture from the 1963 Crawfordsville High School yearbook of downtown. You can see
all the
buildings. So it's really interesting to look at. We'll look at them.
That was my sophomore year in high school.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll look at them.